Okay, we're gonna try this out. So, I'm just going to turn on Omegle, and we're gonna see who starts talking. And yeah, we'll see how this goes. We'll see how many non-penises we come across, and how many people we talk to. Let's begin. Okay. Hey, man.
Hey man, what's up?
How are you doing?
All right. Kind of bored.
Yeah, me too. I just come on here and talk to people. That's all. You
Yeah, sometimes just try to get out of doing homework and see if I can meet somebody.
what what are you in school for?
I'm in school for nursing, but right now I'm taking a history class.
Oh, cool. Like medieval
Yeah.
history or something like
No, it's just American history, the worst kind.
that. Yeah, dude,
What do
medieval
you do?
history. Uh, well, I just recently moved to Denver and I work at a restaurant. But I'm a trained actor, so that's what I am trained to do, I guess.
Yeah.
Not really doing that recently though, unfortunately. Soon, hopefully though.
I hear you. Yeah, yeah. What were you gonna say about medieval history?
Oh no, I was gonna say like I think that medieval history is like so interesting. Like there's this really I'm trying to remember what book it was that talks about like Archimedes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know anything about that guy?
No.
He was like this
Yeah.
insane engineer, like I think before the Middle Ages, and he like constructed this gigantic like catapult that just like
Yeah. Trebuchet?
I think it was
The trebuchet?
yeah I think it was a trebuchet, but it was like even more elaborate than that.
Gnarly.
Yeah, exactly, and yeah, exactly. Archimedes, actually. Here, I'm just gonna write his name down. I
The
forget the
name sounds
actual.
familiar.
I think that was his name.
Greek.
Hmm.
I should know about this guy.
He was like assassinated
Yeah.
too. Like the enemy general like got a spy to like go in and like assassinate him in his own city or whatever. It's pretty
Yeah.
crazy.
Crazy times back then.
So how do you
Where?
like
Well, I
nursing?
mean,
Oh,
what'd you say?
I was gonna ask you how you like nursing.
So nursing is not my first choice. I originally went to school for biology, and I didn't know what to do with that. And then I tried doing aviation, learning to be a pilot, and then COVID hit, so that kind of got in the way.
Hmm.
So now I'm hoping to do nursing so that I can have the time and money to just keep doing aviation.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, don't you need like I had have a friend who wanted to be a pilot, but like you have to have like you have to have like perfect vision, right? You can't like
Oh, there's certain conditions you can have, like certain heart conditions, and like yeah, you have to have good vision. Having glasses is fine though, but like most people can fly. It's just it is like some money because you got to build up your hours, and that costs just like personal money. I took a loan to get my private license, and I didn't even finish it, so like now I'm just stuck with like owing money. But that's why I'm hoping nursing can help me with because it's just a really good paying job, and I have the whole biology background, so I'm kind of good at it. But my mom's an RN, and I just like don't like the medical industry and what the employees really go through and have to do, and I don't agree with insurance and all that shit. So it's not really again like my first choice, but it's something I feel like I'm doing just as like a stepping stone, or like you you're working restaurants so that you can hopefully work your dream one day.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
The
for me, it's
stepping
that it's like a
stone.
stone. Yeah.
Hmm. Do you know much about like the insurance industry and how they kind of like fuck
Um,
over people? Do you?
I mean, I know enough because just being an American, like, and having a family, like, we all experience it. And it's like every single person experiences it because we don't have free healthcare, like, so. And most doctors are not really, if you pay enough attention, you'd realize they're not interested in like your well being, but just more like offering you services that essentially you're paying for, which they get paid for by the insurance company, but you have to pay, it's just like a big game. Same thing with car insurance. It's all bullshit. Like, but again, we live in this country and we can't really escape those things. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder often like what's the solution? How do we? What's the kind of root issue? It has to be corruption. I really think it has to be
I
corruption.
think it's without sounding too ignorant, because I don't think there's really one answer for most things, but I think a lot of it has to do with just kind of capitalism and the ability for people to monopolize, even though it's illegal, but like they're allowed to do it anyway, because then people control, like, the supply and demand is existing no matter what, but when people control how much supply is able to be supplied for the demand, that's why you have brands like Supreme and shit who like make money off just making a few products and making their name well known,
Mm,
you know?
mm.
And then that same effect trickles down to like that insurance is like a big scam where everyone's supposed to have it and the government's able to mandate that, because there are people who also sort of like lobby the government to continue that because they own, you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah,
owned by all the same
yeah,
people, and then it's controlled by the same people. And yeah, it's a big like monetary scam, I feel like. And unfortunately we're all like stuck in it because we're born into it and then we're raised to like feed it,
yeah,
you know.
dude. That is
Yeah.
so. That's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm a good talker, man. I could talk for hours about mostly anything,
well, that's yeah,
but I
no,
mean, like, yeah,
that's a great skill, especially like what doing what you're doing. Like you have to be able to communicate with people and connect with them. And I think a lot of
definitely.
people feel disenfranchised in at least our country, and
Yeah, for sure.
um,
I think one big key to people realizing or realizing freedom eventually is like to learn to own a business, because it's like the one opportunity in the United States that gives people like power essentially to like not only control where their money's going, what it's being invested on, the money that's coming in, like how they produce what they're producing. You know what I'm saying? Because like when
mm,
you work for another company, your effort is only solely going to their pockets, and the money being made from that effort is going to their pockets. Like you're just making the bottom of the barrel scrape that they hand you.
exactly,
And
they throw you a
owning a
bone.
business gives you the freedom to sort of like control how much you make. So like for example, you know, I don't know how old you are, but like when I was in college times, like, I tried selling marijuana a couple of times and it never worked out for me. Like I always had bad luck with it, and you were always making like such little money off of it. Right now I sell skate shoes because I'm a skateboarder, and after years of like being obsessed with it and like trying all the brands out and stuff, like I know what quality is and I know what good value is too. So like I find shoes for like really cheap and then I flip them for like sometimes twice the price that I bought them for. And now I'm making like way more money than I was making off weed. But I mean, weed is more in demand, you know what I'm saying? Like not
Mm,
that many people are just buying shoes out of someone's trunk, which is what I do.
hmm.
But yeah, like it starts somewhere though, because I'm not saying I'm gonna be selling shoes the rest of my life, but it's a passion that I'm just following, and it's just like day by day, you don't even know where you'll end up. You know what I mean?
Mm,
But yeah, I think that's kind of a process that like most Americans should learn and like try. I'm not saying that even I have the formula for it, because the only reason I know this is because I worked for a friend of mine who was an entrepreneur and is still, and he's a millionaire now. Like he's a year younger than me, and I was working with him, and I kind of like, I guess you could say, like made personal mistakes and what to where like we didn't work together anymore. And I don't want to say that it happened for a reason, but it did, because like it taught me a lesson. And like I guess now I want something similar, except I don't have such a big money goal in my mind. Like I don't picture myself being rich and like famous. Like I just kind of want to do what I love and like be happy.
yeah,
But
just kind of
sometimes
like
you gotta
yeah. I was gonna
sometimes you
say.
gotta push yourself to think outside of the box that you normally think. You know.
Well, it sounds like you have like a really. It sounds like you've been working to like to survive, but also to thrive a little bit too. Like you have your business, but you also have your long term goal. You're aware of kind of like the institutional oppression that's going on. So like that's a major part of it. I don't know. It sounds like you have a pretty good plan. Yeah, to me.
It's funny though, because like people are always telling me stuff like that. Like when I explain all this stuff, people are like, "Oh, it sounds like you're like you got it all figured out, or like you know so much, like you'll figure it out." And I'm just like, it doesn't feel that way for me. I feel like I know so much and like pretty much for naught. You know what I mean? Now,
So what's
people
the
say not for naught, but like now it's for naught, because it's not that I'm not using it. It's just there's so much bullshit in life that gets in the way of trying to use that information correctly. You know?
That's I think that's interesting. So like do you think that it's what do you think is the missing link or what do you think is the distraction that's keeping you from actualizing your full potential?
it's different for everybody. For me, I sometimes it's self-doubt. Sometimes it's like thinking that I can't do something even though like I have every skill and capability to do it. Like right now, for example, I'm supposed to be doing homework for my history class, and instead I'm doing what I like to do and I do naturally well, which is like converse with strangers around the world, I guess. Like it's odd, but in a weird way I also feel like again like things happen for reasons, and like I literally started doing this the other night and like met some people, not like crazy, but just like, I had interesting interactions and I like it. So I guess that's why I'm
Yeah.
back to doing it. But I should be doing something else. Like I have a responsibility that I've already paid for. And I don't know, man.
I
Life
well,
is so weird though.
well, I think just to like follow up on this idea of like, you love talking to strangers and conversing with strangers from around the world. So, what if this is like an unraveling and a revealing moment that informs you that this is part of the missing piece of your puzzle, that interacting with strangers from around the world can be a linking part to fueling you into what you want to do. You know what I mean? I don't know, like, I don't know what that means for you,
Yeah.
but like,
Yeah. I mean, when you say that, it makes me realize that like, remember how I just said I don't want to be famous, but like being someone who's willing to be recognized and understood by people around the world would essentially make you, recognizable at least. And that's what I'm talking about when I say like you never know where you'll end up, because like if you just do the things you want to do, sometimes you end up going against what you think you believe. You know what I'm saying? And not in a bad way, but like I said before, you have to think outside of the box you normally think, and like learn that like what you think you're going to be doing to be successful is just not what you're going to be doing. You're going to be doing things that one, you agree with, two, you never thought you could, and three, things that you'll be so proud of that you actually did because you just never thought you would try them. You know?
mm, jumping into things that like are not in your comfort zone.
Exactly. Like you have to step out. Like I've learned so many times now, you have to step out of your comfort zone. It's like people have said it, and I think it's a pretty truthful statement. Is that uh like staying in your comfort zone is kind of like paramount to death. Like you're essentially like not moving forward, and you're just
Plateaued.
staying the same, and the world moves forward without you essentially. And yeah,
So is this your comfort zone then? This kind of like space?
I guess it's weird because like to be real with you, man. What's your name by the way?
I'm Kenny. Yeah,
Kenny? Oh, that's
yeah,
funny. My
Kenny.
brother's name is Kenny.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. What about
I'm
you?
Dennis, by the way.
Dennis. Cool.
Dennis.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. Nice to meet you too. It's weird because I feel myself comfortable talking to most people. Girls make me nervous, which is weird because like I'll be confident with them, but also like uh, I don't like to impose, especially on females, because females can be very, very sensitive emotionally and in an energy sense. So like I don't know. It's like hard for me to understand how to make like so it's weird because I come off very calm and very like intelligent and even charming to an extent, but like when I get close, that fades into like this like fear or uncertainty, and I don't know where I feel like it has to be coming from me because it happens with like every girl that I meet. You know what I mean, like in person. But it's funny because here on Omegle, it'll be a different experience. Like they'll just see me and I'll just talk a little. I don't even have to talk that much, and it kind of like flows better than it does in real life. It's so odd.
Wow. The stakes are so
Yeah.
low.
Well,
Right?
maybe that's what's doing that for them. Maybe it's for me too. I don't know. Like I view people like people. Like just because I'm talking to you right now, I'm talking to you the exact same way I'd be talking to you if we met in person. You know, and the same goes for anyone I meet on here. So that's why I'm saying like now that I'm getting some experience seeing like the reactions, like there's nothing wrong with my like communication, but there has to be something wrong with like my physicality, either my posture, my aura, whatever you want to call that, or my presence. Like something is making some people uncertain because even in social circles, like I know I'm confident, which can give off the impression of like, oh, maybe he has certain intentions, like, and he knows what he's up to. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And by being intelligent and like having all these topics down, people think, yo, he's capable. Like that's also a dangerous thing, you know. But
Hmm.
like I'm a very fucking like nice person. Like I don't know, like my
Yeah.
my parents are
Yes.
Hispanic, and my dad's Guatemalan, which are some of like the when I meet Guatemalan people, they're all very, very nice. They're all very calm, very like low energy. They can be passionate, but they are for the most part stable people. And I feel that way all the time. So I just get so like jaded by that reaction from people, you know? Because it'll be from guys and girls. Like guys will be intimidated by my confidence and presence, and like sort of they won't open themselves up. They'll keep like a certain wall up while I talk to them or interact with them, you know?
Mm.
And then girls, they'll fucking shit. They'll give me that eye, like they're attracted. And then once I like open up like the possibility of seeing them again or hanging out, like it becomes like a cold shoulder. Like I get flaked all regularly, man. I don't understand it.
This is fascinating to me because I think like what I'm hearing from you is like this idea. Well, and it's something that I believe in too. That like there are these unwritten social norms that kind of dictate how you're supposed to interact, and if like if you're a nice person or I'm a nice person and I like to give a lot in conversation or just give a lot in general, then it's like, oh, they're not. At least this happens in my mind, is that I think that people think, oh, that guy's just kind of not interesting because he just gives, and I want to like work. Like I think that people want to work for a reciprocal relationship instead of just like seeing that that someone
Be
is,
everything they want.
yeah, exactly, someone is just giving, and it's like, oh my, you know what I think I think it stems from is that I think people um, attract the kind of energy they think they deserve. So maybe a lot of people don't believe that they deserve to be given to, you know? So if like you're a very giving person, I'm a very giving person, um,
That's so
and
contradictory to like. Sorry if you're not done.
well, no, no, no. Well, I think that, yeah, I think that people only like to get what they think they deserve, and whenever they are given too much, they turn it away because they just don't believe that they deserve it, and 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 so what that is not a reflection of you; it's a reflection of them, and the person, the people that will lift you up the most and give you what you deserve are not are are few and far between, and also like if you are getting, because sometimes like at least for me in high school, like there was I had some friends who just were like, I would give and give and give, and they just kind of were like, fuck it, and I would just be so annoyed. But in the end, now years later, I believe that I deserve better. I deserve friends that who
Get
give,
back.
yeah,
Yeah.
and um who believe that they deserve awesome friendships too, giving
So also,
friendships,
yeah,
you know. So that's my, I don't know,
yeah.
that's my
It's strange because
tangent.
no, it's okay, man. I hear things like this from other people. Like I have friends in my life who I consider sort of like more like, like there are people in your life who teach you things, and there are people in your life who like you go back to many, many times to be taught like multiple lessons. What even if they're like younger than you sometimes or whatever it is, like they just have this perspective and also a way of communicating that just hits you. You know what I mean? Like it
Mm.
makes you get goosebumps. It makes you like open things that you just were right in front of your face just all of a sudden become clear because of the way they say it to you. And people have said that to me, what you just said, like where these people just aren't right for you. Like they're just not the right person. Like if that's what it is, it's not you, it's them. So yeah, like I guess I have to just take that. But it's just that's how I like. So you said earlier, like we give ourselves what we think we deserve, right? Especially when it comes to relationships and friendships. I was in a 4 year long relationship, the only relationship I've ever been in, and but she was unlike anyone I'd ever met before. Like she wrote books, she painted, she listened to hip hop music, like the same kind of music I listened to. She very easily went along with these kind of conversations about philosophy and science and history and ideology, and she was a very articulate, intelligent, and beautiful person. Like she was a model. It was crazy, and like she had feelings for me, and at first I was very like worried and scared. I was like, no, we can't have anything because it's like it's not right. It's not safe. She was also my sister's friend, and like I felt bad about that. But after like time passed down, like I couldn't kind of help everything that she was, like the whole package, and her feelings for me because like I just told you, I tend to it just never lasts with girls. Like they'll get those feelings when I see them in public or like in school or whatever. And then once it's like the two of us alone, it's I recently had experiences with this girl in my nursing class who will literally have like mental breakdowns when the two of us are alone. And I don't understand if it's just like I know she has issues, but it can't just be her. I think I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyways, I'll stick with the one. My ex was me and her were very happy for a while for like probably 2.5 years, and then like she has she has a very difficult and messed up home life, and she moved in with me because I thought I was trying to like help her sort of escape that. Like her parents are very abusive, verbally, and I think when she was younger, physically, and they're both disabled mentally. One through an accident, and another from like years of basically being an alcoholic. And like all of that shit that she grew up in, to be as bright and impressive of a person as she was, just it felt like I had met someone like I was supposed to meet. You know what I mean? And like our connection just seemed so natural and like organic, and all these things are things that like I pictured when I was in high school finding in a girl. Like I told people like, yeah, there's no girl that I like think is worth my time because I'll get into conversations like this and in 30 minutes they won't have my attention anymore. Or like I won't have theirs is what I mean. Like you said, I'll be too giving. And this girl, I'm guessing with the past she had was ready to receive a lot.
Hmm.
So like we had a very passionate and like loving relationship for a while, lived together, and I guess over time, like how most things happen, like we learned to like we couldn't just learn to accept each other's differences, and things started to go sour, and we talked about taking a break, but we lived together and she didn't want to go back home, so it never happened. Down the line eventually like things just kind of crumbled, and she left. She I guess you could call it like I consider it cheating because we were still living together even though we technically broke up like a week before a concert that I had tried to take her with me. And then 9 months later, I'm hanging out with a whole group of friends that I had made over the year and like gotten really close with. And the one who like lives in my town, who kind of introduced me to all these people and who I was very close with, even when I was still with her, he was having issues with me because he was getting jealous feelings about a friend we both have who's a girl, but who's like non-binary, not non-binary. She's she's like bisexual at least, like
Hmm.
queer, right? And then when it comes to her gender like identity, I don't think she's non-binary, but she's a girl who definitely acts very like boyish.
Okay.
But like she was very comfortable being like close with her friends physically. So we were at a barbecue at his house, and at one point she's sitting on his lap, I guess, or something, or like against him. And then later she does the same thing with me. And when he saw that, he completely flipped. He didn't speak to me the rest of the night, even though we like took a drive like 30 minutes to like some deli and back. Like he didn't speak the whole time. The following 2 days, he didn't text or like he didn't respond to any text or calls I made. And then I was hanging out in this other town with the same group of people, and I invited this one girl who lived in that same town because she was sort of like a regular in the group, but she would like come in and out. And I guess I sort of liked her, but I wasn't, I didn't have real intentions. I just invited her to kind of hang out with everyone there. And he heard about it, called me, and was like, yo, what are you doing? Why are you talking to her? This and that. And it was because like he had fucked both her older sisters, and I guess was trying to also get her.
Oh.
And then I guess he had an issue with his friend who doesn't have like a stable of girls like he does. He had an issue with me like talking to her at all, and I guess it had stemmed from the friend before who had expressed like she had no feeling. You know what I mean? Like all this bullshit I haven't gotten to the main point. My ex, after these 9 months, came out talking about me, saying that like that I was an abuser and that I was like I don't know, like a whole list of things. She used like very offensive words like pedophile and shit like that when like, you know, our relationship was very much not that and it never was. And I don't like, you know, it's like really hurtful to hear that from the person that you felt all those feelings for and thought that you'd spend the rest of their life with. And now it's like the person that you knew is just gone because like none of those feelings exist in them. And it's a very confusing world to be in because like I try to move forward with like other girls and like then I get reactions like that and like how am I supposed to be confident and think that I'm going to take a place in your life if you're like unsure of me, you know, like after what I've been through. And I'm not going to tell the girl that either because it just sounds terrible. So yeah.
Man, dude. Well, like the uh, the level of vulnerability that you have is just like that. That's a testament to just how like big of a heart you have. You know, like um, you know that's huge. To me, that's what stands out to you to me about you. You know, like
Yeah.
I think
I
that
get it. Like
I think that like just another thing though like is is like how much how much do you think people are distractions towards your creative fulfillment? You know, because I think that
so
yeah I think that that people and social lives can be major distractions to understanding self and to self growth and I don't know.
yeah.
It makes me
So
angry to listen to this story, to your story. You know, because it's like,
yeah, man.
why not just say fuck it to all of
As
them?
a guy, you as a guy, I'm sure you understand that like we're in this really weird time right now where women are trying to take power back, and like I'm all for that. Like I told you before, like I've seen my mom struggle through a real career that like she worked for. And yes, Kenny, what's up? All right, it's fine. I'm not gonna come out right now. Um, what was I saying? Yeah, it's an odd time where like you have to watch what you say and what you do, and like people are all over the place with the internet and saying anything that they want. And like you're saying, like people are really messed up and they can be huge distractions. But I also sort of believe that like people are like owning a business is not something you can do by yourself. That is like a fact because there just becomes a point where everything you do needs to be handed to someone else in order to
Yeah.
move up to a new level. So like just that being known in my head, I know that while people are a distraction, they are 100% necessary in that creative process of finding success and happiness because like you every brain, every human has like the ability to change the world around them like physically, but for the most part, you can't you know, you're if you want to change the world in a way that is lasting, there have to be other people who agree with the change and who like are part of that change
Part of the
happening.
movement, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Because like, you know, for you by yourself it's just a dream. But when other people start to see the same dream and start to work on it, it just becomes reality, you know? This is like for me a like a step in manifestation. You
Yes.
need to be able to manipulate the environment and people are part of the environment, you know? So like yeah, like I think like you said, you need to it's kind of like what you said before though, you need to choose the right people to like put that energy into and to sort of like guide to their own success in order to find yours like depending on who you are like as an artist as a actor for example I'm sure you know that there are just so many faces that a person can put on themselves, you know, and it's all up to you, and when you're by yourself this is the only time like you see your true face. So like that's kind of how the world is like no one will ever see the real you except you, and you have to be able to like play that like everywhere you go. Like you know you said to me like I have a big heart and I agree with you, like I'm a very loving person and I have so much like to give people. but I'm also selfish, and I also have like a dark side, and I've also done things that I'm not proud of. Of course, that has nothing to do with like what my ex was talking about, but it's just like the effect she has by saying that causes me to like bring up feelings I have of things I've done wrong and make me question whether like what she says about me is true or not. You know, because she was someone so close and like really she did understand me to a degree. So it's almost like I'm hearing it from the horse's mouth, if that makes sense, you know?
Yeah.
But like you said, it's not me. It's like her speaking, so it's not the truth. It's just her like perception or the perception she tries to put on it.
Yeah, yeah. It's like partially like I'm sure there's it's a well informed projection is
Yeah,
like
exactly.
what it sounds like.
Yeah.
And that's another thing too is there's this I don't know if you know anything about Ram Dass, but he talks a lot about becoming that this idea of this idea that when you are alone, the only person that knows your true self is you. Like
Hmm.
I think that we strive in our lives to create stories about ourselves that are consistent and that are also somewhat noble and are understandable and.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that's a trap. I think that the real way to kind of find peace and to be present is to completely let go of any idea of self. And now how?
Control. No,
Yeah,
no, no.
yeah.
So it's
Now how is that
it.
possible whenever you are surrounded when we are naturally social creatures and we're surrounded by other people's projections of themselves onto us. That's literally who we are.
Yeah.
That's my story is just an aggregate of all of the projections that people have had on me for 30 years. That's
Yeah.
myself. It's so
Yeah.
fucking stupid. Like
Yeah.
who I am right now is actually just me presently. That's who
Right.
I am, you
Right.
know? Yeah, me with
But
my
like,
big eyes and stuff.
yeah.
Like so but and I think that finding peace I think that okay, so this is all just I'm thinking out loud.
Hmm.
This is really helpful, by the way. I love this.
Okay.
I
This
think
is what
that
I do. I try to say things to people that will make them think because it just comes back like that like reflection that they're doing
right,
is like living vicariously through their reflection for me, you know.
right, yeah. So it's
But
like
yes, continue.
like just thinking out loud and reflecting out loud is that I think that the way to be with people the most effectively is to not think of is to first just be present with the other person, right? Listen to what the other person is, just like what we're doing right now,
Hmm.
and to not to be present and but also to not torture ourselves about building a consistent identity or self or like like this is my
Story.
true self. Yeah, story.
Story.
Yeah.
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 Because
the
who
arc the arc of your life is not like
it's
there's
not
so
linear.
many like there's one big arc of your life which is like kind of like you being born to like the very end, but then in between there are just like millions of little arcs. Some arcs started here and ended like here, you know what I'm saying? And like the truth is, like you're saying, like we're an amalgam of like all these experiences, and
Mm-hmm.
we're also our DNA. Like we cannot escape what we are genetically. So yeah, like you have to learn to be yourself. And then beyond that, you need to grow into things that yourself isn't yet, you know? Like
Right.
that's what I mean by,
Yeah.
thinking outside the box is like, for example, my parents are immigrants and like they came here and they taught me like you have to work hard, you have to like earn your place and earn your living. But now that I'm growing in a different age than they are, I try to convince them that it's not just about killing yourself and putting all the effort you have in your body to something. It's about figuring out how not to use all of your energy so that you have more left over to do what you want to do. you know, to enjoy your life with the energy you have left, not just waste it all away, just barely making it by,
Mm.
you know. And like that same lesson can be taught in other ways besides just money. Because like for example, I tore my ACL a couple years ago, and I had torn a meniscus like a year or two before. But after the ACL surgery, coming like recovering from that was a very like mentally straining time because I couldn't skate, I couldn't like run and jump. I was with my ex, thankfully at the time, because she was like sort of a mental crutch. Like being with her just made me happier than just being by myself and disabled. So once I picked up skating again, I tore my ACL again, like the same one that I had surgery on, and I was like forced to just like teach myself how to recover from it. And I learned yoga, I learned Pilates,
Mm.
and eventually I just developed like my own sort of like technique of like stretching and trying to give more strength to my joints. And then eventually down the line, I heard about a program by a guy named Ben Patrick, whose like main goal is to help people with the lower limbs and rebuild and like strengthen those joints. And he basically is just kind of like revolutionizing like fitness in a sense, because he's taking ideologies from other cultures and other parts of the world in different times where people just forgot about, and he's like bringing them to now so that people can essentially practice things that for some reason American fitness does not allow them to practice. Like his whole thing is called knees over toes, and I'm sure you know that in gym class they tell you when you do a squat, you're supposed to keep like your knee in line with your foot. But like he argues that in most sports, like his sport is basketball, he argues that in most sports with explosive movement, your knee is going way past your feet almost all the time, especially when you're stopping and turning. And these are where soccer players and basketball players have the most knee injuries, is when they stop and turn. And so he basically says, no, you should practice moving your knee as far as you can, bending your knee till your hamstring meets your calf. Like this is what your body is designed for. So why wouldn't you practice it?
Mm.
And with just by, you know, learning what I could off his Instagram, I was doing workouts at home and like feeling results in a few days. So eventually I decided to like pay for his program. So now I'm on it. And yeah, I feel like way, like amazingly better than I ever did like with any other workouts I've tried. Like the guy just kind of figured out like the most scientific method of explaining how your body should be able to do this. And because of that, you need to practice doing that, you know? And like I've tried convincing people, and some people, they take so much time, like they don't want to hear it, they think that it's bullshit, they think the guy looks funny, the workouts look funny, I sound funny, whatever. But that's similar to like what I'm talking about with my parents, and similar to what you were talking about when you meet people and whether they're ready or not to receive what you have to give them. Some people are just not ready for that information because they haven't lived some part of their life where they actually need it, like me with the ACL stuff, you know.
Mm.
So like luckily I picked up that stuff and decided to keep with it. Some people, like you said, that we lose our consistency and it doesn't become a part of our story. But now it's becoming part of my story because every time I meet someone selling them shoes and they're like, oh shit, my knees hurt, this and that, I'm like, yo, bro, I have some workouts that like, I'm not even going to explain anything to you because people don't want to hear it. I'll just send you the workouts. And if you want, try them. If you feel a difference, I would say keep doing them, you know? And like slowly like that, I feel like it'll lead to like I like that you, like I said, you have all these arches going on in your life, and I think that a big key to like figuring out yourself is to find the arches that are really you, right? Like
Mm.
find the things in life that are challenging, but because you want to accomplish them, not
Yes.
because others are putting them on you. And so like my journey to understand the body and the self has led to other things like the shoe business, for example, like all these things that like I like for example, the more I learn about the body and how it's supposed to be postured, I've actually learned more about what shoes are better for your body and how like a different shoe shape and silhouette will affect your performance. All these things like eventually they culminate to having higher understanding. And then down the line, I hope that with a nursing degree, even if I choose to be a pilot and all that, that knowledge will help me to create some other industry or business where like I'm helping people with this kind of
Right.
stuff, you
That it
know?
builds on, that all this knowledge
Exactly.
just builds on itself. Yeah.
Yeah. And sort of presents an opportunity that in a sense isn't really there for anyone but me because I'm the one who's like fulfilled these milestones of knowledge and all that.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Dude, I mean, you're good, man. You're good.
Thank you,
Jeez.
bro. But see, that's the thing. It's like I feel. you know, maybe I don't feel good enough about myself and how much I know because I don't feel like special. Like I don't feel like I have it more figured out. I feel like I meet so many people who just do this shit without having to talk about it, you know?
Mm,
Like they're just doing their passions, they're doing arts, they're doing science, whatever it is, and they don't think about like what it means or how important it is. There's it's just what they're doing. And I don't know if anything what makes me so special to be outside of that and like study and understand these things without practicing them, you know? Because like I practice some things, but I feel like I have time to do more. Like I could be learning guitar. I could be. There's a lot of things that I want to do, and for some reason I don't pick them up. And I'm sure you feel the same way about some things. But
yeah. I mean, well, like I am so about getting up early. Like I love getting up early because then I have so much. I feel like if I get up at 10 a.m., I'm like, oh, the day is
yeah,
done. You know, like the day is over already. So if I like get up at 6 or 5, and I have my 4 5 hours of just like morning routine time to get all the stuff in, boom, 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 boom,
yeah,
then I have so much more time in the day to do it. But I mean, yeah, there's a lot to what you're saying, and I think because I am in a similar boat to you where I can examine things and see things and understand like intricate um, subtleties in how to structure a day or how to organize thought or how to organize actions in a day to be
or interpret
efficient,
things. Yeah,
you know? But then I see people like Jeff Bezos or like Elon Musk or like these
Elon
guys,
Musk. Yeah, I
you
think
know,
of him all the time because it's all that intelligence, but it's the practice of it. It's like he spent hours and hours and hours doing something, and so I was just gonna say like if you spend your mornings doing that, then the reality is you're good at it by this point. Like whatever you put time into like effortlessly carrying out, that thing will just consistency is key to anything. So
right.
I'm sure you've heard of the compound theory like
Uh, yeah.
as opposed to adding something to a value when you consistently add something it compounds so like $2 a day is compounding over a year over 2 years over 3 years because like it's a consistent so like you're not only just adding at that point you're multiplying and then you're going to multiply by tens by hundreds by thousands
It's like the
because over
stock
time
market. Exactly.
it's just similar to that exactly the thing is that's going up and down so it's not like a the consistency is not you know what I'm saying? There's no consistent
I know
up
what
or
you mean.
down.
Hmm.
It's sort of changing. So if anything more like life, like you said before, there is no linear story. In reality, it's all of this, and we're just like we view the main line like in stock. People read the main line instead of all of the little candling that they call it.
Yes. Yes.
So it's that like that your perception of your life is just the average when in reality your life went up and down while you only could like stand here and perceive it from there. And
Yeah.
based on your like the identity you give yourself like I was telling someone the other day about how like I have a personal belief that like everyone's life is like sort of balanced so like when I was a kid like my family would take me out to dinner sometimes and I would be like so happy but I had this feeling in me that I would tell my parents to be like right now while we're having like one of the happiest moments in our life like someone somewhere is like having the absolute worst and like I don't know why that thought came to me it just like did and like as I go older like for example when I met my ex like I would tell her stuff like oh like your life was so difficult at the beginning but I think that like the way karma and energy works like that negativity will turn into a much brighter life that you can't picture right now and like I would tell her that like fully believing it like and I would tell her like whether that's with me or not like that's how I think your life is going to go out because you've suffered things that most people would not be able to survive.
This brings me to an interesting question about uh, religion for you, like faith.
Mm-hmm.
This idea of
Yeah.
faith and karma and balance and yin and yang and like
Mm-hmm.
what are your beliefs of that?
Okay, so luckily for you, I've like explained this multiple times in my life. So like my because I feel like when you understand something in a way that can be understood by anybody, it's like a better understanding of that thing. Like like Einstein has a thing. It's like if you can teach it to a 5 year old, or if you can't teach it to a 5 year old, then you don't really understand it yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I view every like all of life as basically being uh the energy that embodies the physical, which is like atoms and mass. That energy exists between the mass, and anything in the universe, just like the theories of relativity and energy conservation, like nothing disappears.
Mm-hmm.
It's just being turned into something else.
Mm-hmm.
So atoms coming apart release an enormous amount of energy, and atoms coming together absorb an enormous amount of energy. So about that, like a body being like trillions of atoms holds an insane amount of energy. Even if we're only to allow only even if we're only able to expend a certain amount, there is just way more energy being held just by the mass of the object. So the way I see it, the whole universe is like an enormous pot, and the energy is like heat floating around the pot. The mass is like the water, where it can sort of take up the heat or release it. And then you have, in a sense, like an enormous pot of just like activity, where like atoms just don't stop moving. They keep colliding into each other, and their collisions cause either breakdowns or building ups of their own structures. So like trickling down, you get to like the planets being made, and like I don't know if you've ever learned in science, like they've tested like in a beaker how life started, like lightning striking water that had certain chemical compounds in it, and like started bacteria, and that led to like the evolution of everything else. So to me, in a mathematical sense, I think that makes sense. I think that like it wasn't designed by necessarily an entity, but by itself, by its own like consistent reacting, and like eventually leads to people and other living things that are again all embodied by energy. But even things that don't live, like rocks and the earth itself, is encapsulated by energy because it's still made up of atoms. And then when you die, for example, your atoms are being broken down by the earth and by decomposers, and that energy literally transfers like through the animal's body to like the earth again. So the way I see it, like our souls are just masses of energy that encapsulate our atoms. And then when we die, and well, first of all, when we die, there is like a mental soul that I like I feel like we have or perceive. It's sort of like a reaction of chemicals and electricity, but that is energy. Like chemicals and electricity reactions are causing energy. So like our thoughts, our like you said, our projections of our from our mind are results of chemical and electrical reactions inside. So, you know, being able to articulate all of that inside here has just allowed us to like I said earlier, like be able to manipulate and control the environment. So like we've evolved to a level where we have enough inside of us, and that includes like very basic things like minerals and ions and electrons and stuff like that. Those things all function on their own together, like just naturally. And because of mathematics, we now have like free will. But free will, again, to me seems more like an end result of reactions. And strangely enough, it feels like we actually have some control over that. When I was in college, I learned about calculus, and I learned about like graphing a line on a graph. And I realized that like there is just no line that you cannot write a formula for, right? So when you know that, then you picture like let's say a meteor flying through space, like you're literally able to measure where it's going to be in another whatever amount of time because of the formula that it's following. The same thing applies for our bodies, our minds, the cars, the rubber, the like metal, all that stuff ends up where it is because mathematically it fell down a mountain, landed in an ore, people found, you know what I mean? All that, like it all is just happening, just like your body's running like oxygen and carbon dioxide, and like all of it is happening all at once. Like the universe is just that, like a pot of everything flying around. And I really don't think that there's necessarily like a right and wrong. I feel like I was going to say this earlier. Your life is an amalgam, right? Like I said, of your experiences, and the reality is also Like you're a result of how you perceive those things. Some people have bad experiences, but they don't consider them bad. You know, like they see it with a much more positive perspective, or whatever, the opposite, seeing a good experience as bad. And like that's another twisted thing, is that you can't understand what someone else will perceive as right or wrong, or good or bad. You know. Um, and that, sorry, that's the very last point with energy, is it doesn't have, there's really no real negative or positive. Like, yes, there is a polarity, meaning that there cannot just be one, there has to be an opposite of it. Like, that's just, I think, how all things exist. So because of polarity, there's one end and there's another end, but there's no such thing as like good and bad, positive and negative, you know?
Mm-hmm.
There's just like the existence in one state or in another.
There's this great TV show that you're talking all about this, and there's have you seen the show Dark on Netflix?
No, actually. I
Do
have
you
heard of it though.
do you like to watch Netflix whenever you have free time, or do you like
Yeah,
watching
I watch
TV?
things. I watch movies mostly, but I'll watch shows if they're interesting.
I mean, dude, like if you watch this show Dark, you're gonna just be like, like the kind of creative brilliance and that someone wrote 30 hours of television that is like this show is mind blowing. You
Yeah,
would really love it.
yeah,
It's a show all about the limits of our predestined selves versus the free will that we have to break out of the mold,
yeah.
and are the candles, in the kind of like alluding back to the stock
The
market,
stock
are
dip.
yeah, can the little candles that we have in our lives that kind of shake the the parabolas or the arcs that we have graphed in our lives, can one candle actually shift the whole predetermined arc? And I mean, I would say that that's pretty much that's the ultimate grand question that this show
Yeah.
asks in 30 hours. It's a German show. It's really great. It's really amazing. So I would recommend that. Um,
I'm definitely willing to check it out. I hope I remember when we leave this conversation. But
Dark.
I was
It's
just gonna
good.
say that
So
a lot of these theories were things like most of what I just told you. I've been saying like the same exact explanation since probably like I was like 12 or 10 or maybe even younger, because like my dad was always very into science and physics and chemistry. Even though he didn't understand them well, he was just very into them. So like the way we're talking right now, I learned to speak like that from him for sure. But my dad is also like not perfect, and I feel like he has like sort of not pushed himself as far as he could go, you know, like not even close. But I guess that's not really up for me to decide, because it's his life and all that. And he also didn't have an easy upbringing. I definitely came up with what way more of an opportunity and like life offering than he did. So I can't, nitpick. But like I said before, we can't escape like where we come from, like who we are. And that's a reality too, is I see myself a lot in him, or rather himself in me. And it's like like similar to what you just said, like what kind of candle drop or rise will it take for that trajectory that is so well already existing to just be changed into like this different trajectory. And like that's what I was saying earlier, that I think that there's some form of free will that exists, because when I learned about the lines, like the graph has a formula, and the formula has, in a sense, like at least one or two variables where you can enter a different value and you'll find yourself on a different point on that line. But if that were to be true, then the line would always be the same
exactly.
no matter what. Like you're going to end up where you're going to end up. But I think that's just not true. The way the world is, like I said, that's with the theory of like just the one. Now you have to consider that, like I just said, there's a pot of like millions of these other arcs coming in from different. Like my ex, for example, who like we met at one point, and that changed the trajectory for
Yes.
both of us. You know, so like life is like that, where like the stream can just start to mend itself in a different direction based on something that came from upstream,
Hmm.
and it could even come, like a big rock, for example, could just pass by once and fuck up a whole bank, but that will change how the river flows from then on, you
Wow.
know.
Dude, I have to tell you. So I have been so I come on to Omegle every day,
Really?
mostly every day, and it's because I have a YouTube channel where I talk to people. This whole conversation has been recorded, and I have no idea if you would like me to upload this video, our conversation, onto my YouTube channel. But let me. I mean, this has just been such a brilliant conversation. I feel like every single part of it has just led to another amazing topic that has just been pure brilliance. And I don't know if what I normally do. I've been experimenting actually. I usually tell people right in the beginning of the conversation that I'm recording that I'd
Okay.
be interested in.
Well, that's
and
fair. Yeah.
and yeah, of course. And today I was like, I'm gonna have a conversation, see where it goes, and then at the end let them know and see. And I'll tell you, like, the kind of the discovery that it may just be you because you are fucking awesome, but like the
Thank you.
conversation like has just been so much more fluid when people when if I were to tell you in the beginning of the conversation that it was being recorded, there would
Yeah,
be
it would
something in the
change
back of
my
the mind.
my
Yeah,
yeah.
but like there's a brilliance that comes from not
Letting
knowing,
people
and
be
that
who they are without yeah. It's basically an uninhibited feeling of just being yourself without being watched.
right
Because like, I
without
didn't know
being.
you were recording. I mean, not that it would have changed my story that much, but obviously I shared with you personal information that
Absolutely.
doesn't suit me to be out in public.
Right.
Um, but no, I don't think that you're just going to take advantage and use that. And I've been told before that with these kind of conversations I have with people that I should do a podcast and all that. And I've never stepped up to the plate and recorded myself. And even when I do, like you just said, once I know I'm being recorded, it does not create the same effect as when I just get into a conversation with someone. So yeah, like I don't mind that you appreciate what I've said and that you want to share it with other people.
So it would be okay if I uploaded this then onto my YouTube.
Yeah, yeah. You can share like starting from where I said I was with her for 4 years to where I start up again about how like it was a great relationship for a long ass time and like I don't know I still get it's something that I'm not over yet I think and like we've been apart for I think 2 years now. I met someone once who told me that when you're in a very like when you're in any relationship it takes at least half the amount of time you were with them to get over them, and I think that when he told me that was like a very fair like judgment
Yeah.
because like yeah it's been about 2 years and I feel a lot better but that girl really took me for a spin, you know what I mean,
Mm,
like I didn't see it like that at the time but I think she heavily took advantage of like feelings and all that thing because like for her it's a pattern. Like after me she was with another guy and then the exact same thing happened where she moved in with him and they had their life and it was happy at first and then things started falling apart. I probably shouldn't be kept up with all that stuff but like again, like the girl left a really big impression on me, and I guess it's not that easy to let go of like emotions like that, especially for someone like me.
dude, I mean, I dated someone in high school, and I just got over her like 2 years ago. I mean, it's been like fucking 8 years. Like,
Yeah,
it's when you love someone, when you care about someone, and you like that idea of yourself with
yeah.
them. Like I had so
I
much of
liked
my
I liked
identity.
I liked myself more with her because it like caused me to like again think outside the box, do things I wouldn't normally do. Like before her, I used to tell people that I was really shitty at giving gifts because like I stress so much about what to give them to the point where I just don't do anything. And then with her it was like you're not going to do that, like what do you mean, like essentially guilting me into learning how, but I can't lie because now I put an effort into something that I just didn't think was worth it before,
Hmm.
and it is worth it. Like when I give someone a gift and they really appreciate it, it means a lot, and it's like a skill that again, like even though she left me in such a bad place, like I learned a lot from being with her. I grew a lot from being with her. I became a different person, and like I wouldn't be who I am without going through that experience.
Hmm.
You know,
Well, I think that you
it's
should,
one of those. It's one of those candles, man. It's one of those candling experiences. Yeah.
dude. You need to do a podcast. I mean, just plain and simple. You have to. And if you
Do you
ever,
want to?
Yeah.
Do you want to exchange like Instagrams and we can keep in touch or something?
Well, to be honest with you, this is the only real social. I mean, I guess I use Facebook. I guess I'm back on Facebook now, but I really only do this YouTube channel. I don't have an Instagram. I just kind of
Yeah.
like talking to people, and
No, I mean this
you
is
know.
this is a this is a nice like interesting like decently refreshing idea because like there are just people online bored as hell and like when I run into people who actually like there's so many people who just like skip you and they whatever it's like so awkward but it's nice to just try and practice that sort of like unknowing like there's no like it beginning there's no, it's just you just hop in and you just give it a shot and it's cool because like I said this is what I do in public like I'll see people and I'll be like oh like those shoes are sick I remember that pair from whatever and then I'll jump into a conversation like that but like again like based on how people interpret you sometimes they're not ready for anything like they'd rather you just like keep walking or whatever like dude like I being a skateboarder is so interesting too because I'm in a community of people who are very much outside of the norm. Anyone who commits to skateboarding is just different because they are doing something that their body, society, a lot of people, a lot of things basically are against or think that it's taboo and not right or not normal. And you just like defy all of that to just over an obsession over like a little toy, you know what I mean? That brings so much feeling and happiness to like so many people around the world. People who like didn't realize that it benefits so much. People say that their lives are saved from the sport. Like it's crazy. So like the people that I meet from skateboarding are always interesting, always have something to share, to say. Like sometimes they're very socially awkward, which is why they're skateboarding in the first place. So it's difficult. But like someone like me, after years of doing this, like there are some people who for most they're unable to get through that shell. And for me it's just like they'll pour onto me because like I also don't judge. Like I'm sure you've been able to tell, like when you share your opinion with me, it's never like, no, that's wrong, or like, no, you don't. It's more like, okay, maybe there's something in what they're saying that I've missed out. Even if
Yes,
they're just
exactly.
hearing this for the first time. Like that's how I treat every person I meet. Like they know something I don't. Like they have their own struggle that I couldn't even begin to understand or feel. Like I try to feel for people, but obviously I cannot feel what they feel. And yeah, like it's a nice ability like you said earlier or skill because like I said people are necessary in your life like you need to be able to communicate and in a sense ask people for things as someone who's studying nursing now like I'm realizing like you really can't get along in life without someone eventually.
Dude,
Yeah.
yeah, like if you want to do like
Like if we want to do more podcasts I would love to do that.
I
That's why
yeah,
I'm
me
saying we
too.
should stay in touch.
Yes. Yeah, that's my email.
All right. I
That's my
already
email.
I already subscribed to your channel. I'm gonna save that though.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, man. I think this is like 320 321 320.
Episode.
Yeah.
I'm gonna save you as Kenny on YouTuber.
Perfect. Yeah, dude. Please yeah. I think what we need in our society is I mean and I think we see this more with like Joe Rogan and Breaking Points, which is like a political podcast, are just like people and platforms that allow for philosophical conversations, just like unedited, just talking, just ruminating and reflecting out loud kind of spaces because people are afraid to communicate deeply one on one in our society. There
Yeah,
like we need an outlet for like 20, 30 years ago it was available because organized religion allowed for more of an outlet for people to think deeply, to think big.
yeah,
Now
yeah,
religion has kind of fallen away. Our
yeah,
media sucks and is all very
yeah.
surface level. Our interactions socially are very surface level. Social media, surface level. People are craving that, and this is a foray. This is just a little kind of stepping into this kind of an opening that is needed in our society more. It's like very therapeutic, I think.
It's a medium that needs to be explored more because like I was just gonna say like people have lost touch with literature too. Like
Yes.
that goes for myself included. Like literature was essentially the like the original podcast. Like someone would just uninhibitedly share their thoughts, whether it be fiction or non, and they would just express. And I mean, I guess whoever was writing it, depends on their personality. They would either care a lot or not care at all what anyone's going to think when they read it, and that's what they would put out into the world, you know.
Mm.
I actually heavily like admired my ex for being someone who, one, handwrit a lot. Like she would handwrite all. She wrote poetry, but she would handwrite all of her poetry like every day, and then she would like on her own, like type them up, edit them, find a website, learn how to. She taught herself how to publish books, and I was just like when am I gonna meet someone who does this? Like seriously, you know, like you're like an old time romantic poem yourself. Like it's insane. And I was like, yeah, I was like, you know, I was like, yeah, I was like, I can't even deny that I have feelings or whatever. And
Dude, you are such a
you know,
you're such a fucking awesome guy. Like any woman who you think like you jive with is gonna be the luckiest woman in the world because you were just gonna I mean, I don't
sadly,
know, that's
bro,
awesome.
I wish that I could like just get not more. I don't want to say more like a lot. I just mean I wish I could get just more women to trust me to let me try dating because I want to know where I'm at. I want to know what more I could like how I could fix whatever I did with my. You know what I mean? Like I want to work on that part of myself, but unfortunately, I don't have any opportunity to. At least not now. Not right now.
I think that like relationship I feel like I could just fucking talk to you for another 2 hours.
Yeah, I probably could too. And low key, like my family's over right now. They're all like in the pool and stuff. I didn't really want to be a part of that, and I have my homework to do, so that's why I'm like in my room trying to be on my computer. But I don't know, man. I don't know what's gonna happen with this history class because I already paid for it, and I'm like not doing the homework. There's this one girl at I just left working for Chipotle. I was working there for like the last 11 months, and there was this girl there who at the cash register, like I think she likes me or whatever, but she has a boyfriend, so like all the compliment shit, well, whatever, all that stuff, all those feelings for nothing, you know. And on the last day I'm working, like I tell her like, hey, you're like a history teacher, right? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, like, would you be willing to help me with my homework? Like, I have this history class and I just want, like, I'm very bad with focusing. I just need help writing them. And she was like, yeah, of course. Like, send them to me. And I'm just like, oh, I'll make sure I pay you for it. And she was like, what? You don't need to pay me for that. Like, if I do it, it's just for fun. And I'm just like, why are you saying, like, you know what I mean? Like, this is all bullshit. I shouldn't be getting this from some girl who like has to pretend she doesn't like me. It should be from someone who actually likes me. You know what I mean? And who
Yeah.
wants to help me. And then like, of course, like she has her own life, her own commitments, her own things, and she can't do it. I thought I had like an out for a second. I was like, yes, like someone's gonna help me get this class in because it's like I have a problem with myself. Like I can't sit down and fucking do it. I don't know.
That's real.
Yeah. It's real, but it's also sad because like I just told you, I'm a fully capable, intelligent person, and like I can write, but it's just right now I don't give a shit about Reconstruction, industrialization, the things that went on in the United States for the
Sounds like
last
you, I mean,
70, 80
sounds like you know pretty
years.
much everything that you like.
Yeah, I do, but that's my point is I have to put it down on paper, show evidence from the reading I'm reading from, and like all that bullshit that we have to do in school, you know? The regular school regiment. Like,
Hate that.
yeah, it's just the reality though, you know? I will admit to you, man, like it's cool to hear that someone is a trained actor because like acting was something I wanted to do as a kid. Obviously, I like practicing communication and like facial expressions and sort of like body expression is not something I don't like to be fake, but I do. I guess I do understand those things well because, like I said, I just observe people. Like I observe what they do. So like I do, I'm able to see those cues, like you were saying earlier, that were they're unspoken, and just understand what they mean. But doing them myself, I haven't given that any practice, so I don't know how well I'd actually do like on a camera.
Hmm.
You know.
Yeah, well, I
But
think I'll.
obviously, like this is good. Like talking,
Yeah,
I can just do it. Yeah.
yeah, this is helpful. Like whenever you're talking, um, where do you look? Do you look? Do you watch yourself talk? Do you watch? Do you look at me? Do you look off to the side? Like, are you aware of where you look?
So like, yeah, no, because I'm trying to think of a concise way to like make it. You know, again, like I said earlier, like if I can explain it in one way that explains every time it happens, then that's like the goal. So like when I'm talking to you, for example, if I'm talking something that I think is like about you, like I'll look at you because looking at you helps me to one interpret like
How
as
it's
I'm
being
telling you the
received.
thing, I'm able to sort of like read how your reaction is going and I can tailor my explanation through that. Um Obviously some things just sort of escape me, and in order to kind of like create a visual for myself, I have to like look off into the distance to like, not be distracted by a visual stimulus, and then I can come up with an image that I can share with you. And then sometimes I do look at myself because I wonder just what I look like when I explain these things, or like how people could interpret me while I'm explaining them. A kid told me the other night, he said basically what you just said earlier about giving. He was like, I think you're someone who like you just like share, and like you that opens you up to be taken advantage of. And I was like, no, that's 100% true. Like even if I'm not talking about myself, like the things I share is just information. It's valuable, and when someone receives something valuable, they can do something with that value.
Yeah, I think there was someone, I forget where I heard this, but I think it was like, I think it was Jeff Bezos or something like that. Is like, well, two things. One is that I am in
Yo,
the
yeah, hold on. Just one second.
yeah, sure. Let's see.
You have a thing? Just plug it in? Yeah. Here. Thank you. One. Sorry.
What's going on?
My family's over. They're like literally barbecuing in the back right now, but
Yeah. Well, let me
I'm
let me
weird
just
sometimes.
let me just
No,
say
no, no,
a few
dude,
of these
no.
things. You're good.
I was just gonna say like, so like tonight, every Tuesday night, there's this event that goes on at this spot locally where like a bunch of skaters bring like ramps and obstacles to skate. So that's actually where I started selling my shoes, like where I started that business. So I go to that every Tuesday. Like I said, the consistency means something. So I'm hoping that that consistent arrival to there and like the effort I put in there will lead to something. But that's the only obligation I feel personally obligated to. My school stuff, like I said, is a external responsibility. Not it didn't come from me, but I do have to do it because I want to complete my nursing program. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that.
But this what's going on outside is not my ideal. Like I love my family a lot, but I think I inherited it from my father. I'm very like to myself and
Introverted.
like
Yeah.
yeah exactly.
I think that what you were talking about before, I just wrote these two things down because I don't want to forget them. Is like
Mm-hmm.
whenever you say that you give and give, it opens you up to being taken advantage of. But I think that you and I probably have a similar um, philosophy where like the that knowledge is power, and why not try to empower people? Why not try to empower society
Right.
by articulating ideas for the public good, right? Ideas are
Exactly.
for the
Yeah.
public good. So I think that like to me, I think that's all. It also generates positive, good karma, you know,
Yeah.
and that
I agree
if
with you.
yeah, yeah, and if that you're generous with ideas and with your thoughts and your time, that it will come back eventually. Like there's that a sort of faith that I have there. Then there was another
Yeah.
point that that Jeff Bezos talked about in a video. He was like, you could like deliver, or someone could have like so many really good ideas, um, but the chances, like you could have a ton of really good ideas and put them out there, but the chances of other people grasping onto one of your ideas and making it their own and then putting into action things that are your ideas like is very slim. Like
Yeah.
people struggle with enacting their own ideas about what they want for their own lives.
My
So
homework. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, so I mean,
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
there's to a certain extent, yes, you can be taken advantage of. Like but in terms of, I think, offering ideas for the public good, I don't think those things can be taken advantage of as much as like little bits of personal information, you know, like that, someone else in your own
Could
personal
just
sphere
misinterpret.
exactly misinterpret, or like
Yeah,
they could go
yeah.
and tell another person what you
It's
said.
information that is in actuality less valuable because it does not tell, like it is not explaining an idea like you said
Right.
earlier. If anything,
Exactly.
it's an explaining an opinion or a perception or a projection of something, of an
Yes.
identity, of an idea, but it's not the complete idea. An idea needs to be complete in order to have its own identity.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. Well said. Yeah.
It's like having a math formula, but like some of it's missing. Like you just do not have the formula. Now you have only part of it, and it's not going to end in the result you're looking for.
Hmm.
And so it's funny you say that just now because as you said it, I guess I was reflecting. And when I think about the person who projected that idea onto me, I realize that their perception is such that they fear that their ideas will be taken advantage of, not
Yep.
necessarily him telling me that I share dangerous information. So yeah, no, I'm glad you said that because obviously it just cleared that up for me that like that same night that I was hanging out with the guy, first of all, he was a big mess. He was a drunk fool and like almost got me in trouble. Not necessarily, but like I was paranoid that the police were gonna pull us over. And being two Hispanic men and me being the driver, I was like worried. I was worried. So I think that something my brother told me the other day that kid just kind of has a lot of self hate. Like his life, without getting into detail personally, but like he has also been through mad shit in his life, and his attitude reflects that because he's a very intense person. He's very loyal, like extremely loyal, but he's also very critical of people and a little bit inconsiderate of like how he criticizes people. He'll say like some messed up things, even to me, but I'm patient and I understand who he is, so I don't take it personally. But yeah, like it's definitely a reflection of his own views on people.
I
I
think.
think that like you just said too, it's like that. It's like I share things to be benevolent. I share things because I want others to take what I say and use it for their own empowerment and their own good.
Yes.
And like you're saying, because I do that, like it already has happened, but it's going to happen more where people sort of bring me that same energy and that same idea, that same gift, right?
Hmm.
Sadly though, like the only way to learn the lesson that there's not everyone to share with is by going through the bad experiences. Like with my I don't think I finished the story earlier about my friend being jealous about his girl's friends or whatever like me. But when my ex decided to publicly like out me, he hopped on her wagon and like he reposted her stuff. I don't know to what extent he really went, but the dude like fully flipped on me. Even though after we broke up, he was my friend and we see each other like brothers and all that. I was sharing information, both personal and just valuable, to someone who really didn't have the loyalty. And eventually, like again, they didn't even need to use personal information that they I don't know. My ex went and messaged people individually, him being one of them, and he just decided, yeah, I don't trust him either. So like maybe he is what you say he is, and decided to just do that.
I think that to me, what that kind of illustrates is how afraid she is of being alone if she's DMing all these people.
Oh, she is extremely afraid of being alone. Like that is a certainty. I don't think she's been single since she was probably like 13 or 14. It's like I said, it's a cycle for her where like her parents showed her love when she was little. So she has an understanding of what love is supposed to be. And then her parents became heavily also inflicted by their own lives and it affected her obviously in every single day for her most developmental and significant years where milestones are supposed to be made and all that.
Uh,
And then like she met me, who I guess reminded her of that younger time when things were just more loving and her parents were more benevolent and all that. And then I guess as she spent time with me, this sort of like I'm sure you know about like Oedipus complex and like I hate to bring this up because especially like when people hear this they become so sensitive about these psychological facts that we are as people, as animals. But like her relationship with her father was something that reflected into her relationship with me because her father when she was younger just wasn't as affected by like the alcoholism and he wasn't as mean and abusive and rude and like all he was a terrible person like when I would go to her house, right? But now she had me to contrast that being so nice and so like loving and caring. Eventually down the line, the mistakes I made must have reminded her of the things her father have done to her, and the feeling she has towards her father, which is essentially like, I don't care about him, he can waste, he can die. Those things transferred to me. Those feelings of like, a man is going to make me feel better but then take everything I care about away from me, like she's just going to repeat that projection onto pretty much most of the men she's with, if not all of the men she's ever with. And her mom also has a habit of like being with men, sort of considering them like her solution to her problems, and then deciding somewhere along the line that she's better than all of it, and sort of like, decides to have one foot in while also doing whatever the hell she wants. So like she learned it from her mom, and like her mom is still her influence. Like she'll go home and I don't know. Her mom is bad for her, and I was hoping to take her away from that. And I guess to her, it made it seem, and to her mom, it made it seem like I was trying to like, brainwash her or something, like be the new influence, when really I was just trying to let her be herself and like grow and like really explode into someone who she could be. Like she has the potential to be she alone. Not alone, because the thing is, like me, I guess, she knows how to talk to people and she knows how to get people's like attention and their sort of like agreement on the same idea. But hers is less, her like set of philosophies are less like when I share you my ideas, there is no person or identity or stereotype that fits into my ideas. Like my ideas are such that they fit anywhere you want to put them, because I try to think empirically. My ex is someone who thinks with her experience. So she feels as though she understands all men and all people because she has seen the worst that they can be, being her parents.
That's
And
dangerous.
so, with her intelligence and her literacy, because she reads and writes daily, she is very good at arguing, at making a point, at showing evidence for like all the things you literally learn how to write an essay. She has time and consistency and skill in those things, and it's something that, to be fair, is kind of a weapon. Like they say, the pen is a sword. Like it can be, like words have the effect to change people's views on things. And when this whole thing happened and she accused me, some of my own friends for years and years and years were unsure of me because they're hearing something from someone who's so close to me and who knows how to articulate her thoughts so well. So it was very hard. I know I'm retelling you the story, but with a whole new set. And it's, the reality is that's what I went through. Like I was a fucking mess, man. Like I was so depressed and I was feeling guilty about it because I thought to myself, like, I had to have done something. Like I had to have like hurt her or made her feel so bad that she has to be this way. But it just took time for me to realize that it's like a pattern. It's something she does to anyone, you know? Like when she broke up with her ex after getting with me, she slandered his name too. She didn't say all the things she said about me, but she said awful things, like he wanted her to be instituted, like all these terrible things. You know what I mean? And like in her mind, I'm pretty sure it's all true. Like she views it as having happened, even if she just like thought that's what he meant, for example. You know what I mean? Like it's very difficult person to be around. Like she when we ended our relationship, she didn't want to talk to me anymore, and like since then I've changed my phone number, so there is no way for me to contact her. And even if I do, like she would simply like, you not get hysterical, but she would essentially like just not allow a normal conversation to happen. It would just become a fight for sure, you know. Yeah,
Oh,
it was just sad because
so much
again,
there. Yeah.
I was with someone who I was in such a deep relationship with, and now I have no one to revisit those memories with, like no one to sort of acknowledge that it happened, because no one else was there. It was just me and her, you know. Like obviously my family, we lived in my family's house, so they tell me all the time, they're like, no, we saw how you treated her. We couldn't believe that you would do something like that. And the messed up thing is too, with the kind of rhetoric that's out there these days, like that's the kind of things people expect to hear, that like your family supports you, that your family will defend the guy, that all those things fit into the rhetoric that she used to talk bad about me. She said things about my mom, saying things that like my mom was defending a rapist. You know what I mean? Like she has said like such hurtful shit. and she does not care like how it sounds. Like for her, it's just about making her story, more accepting by others, so that others will support her. You know,
Uh,
she continues to write books. The last book she obviously wrote about her abusive relationship, and I haven't read it, but I can imagine it's not nice.
yeah, I'm sure it's like a musical comedy.
It's a musical comedy that her first book was about me, and now her latest book is about me, but they're just on two contrasting like projections, of me. Which in reality, now that I look at it, neither one is really me. It's just her projection, and she didn't really know me if she thought she did. Like she has this ability to act and agree with the things that you like if she likes you. She did the same thing with the guy after me, and like she fully changes her opinions and what she prefers based on the person that she's now trying to like, create a relationship and life with in her own mind. But in reality, she's not looking forward for the two of them. She's looking at forward for herself, you know? Because also in her mind, like you just said, she feels truly alone. And I don't think she's even ready to open up her heart to actually having someone be by her side. Like she doesn't know what that really means because her parents are terrible examples of it. My parents aren't great examples of a stable relationship, but this is why I'm saying that I know I need to work on it. I know I need to meet someone who I can at least practice these things with because I know I'm going to make mistakes. I know I'm going to be mad. I know I'm going to be impatient. I know I might say hurtful things, but it's like the only way I can get better at it is to like be in that situation again and work on it then, you know?
Uh-huh. Uh, I guess my one last question before we get going is whenever that whenever she did all those things, what was your reaction to it? Like, what was there a response that you had to her? Oh no. Did the internet go out? Don't you dare tell me the internet went out. Oh my god. Are you fucking kidding me? Technical error. Oh my god. Ah, that's my internet. Oh, my internet. Oh, that internet. Fuck. Alright, well, how about that? Dennis, to be continued. Oh, man. We gotta do a podcast or something. Whenever you want to start it up, I am down. Have some good philosophy conversations, and we could like read books. That could be fun. Like that we read books and then like talk about them, or watch a movie, talk about them, or just do a whole different assortment of things. I'm totally down for any of that. But in the meantime, I will upload this. It was a great one. Was not expecting a an hour and a half talk. An hour and a half. That was it's been a while since I've had a good one of those. So, okay. All right, peeps. Thanks for tuning in, for listening, and until next time.